Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my Gold Paladin standard deck profile for December 2018. Wanted to bring you all this deck as the next profile from the Ultra Rare Booster Pack. It's a really fun deck. The whole point of the Gold Paladin deck still focuses on calling rear guards and just getting off multiple attacks through the use of the Excel marker, which is the GIF this deck shares. I always thought it was going to be the Force marker for the longest time, but I was glad to see that it wasn't really following suit with the Shadow Paladin and the Royal Paladin trend, going off on its own and being a completely different deck with a completely different purpose as well, instead of, big power attacks, multiple attacks, like Gold Paladins were originally meant to be. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. Now, I am missing a couple cards for the deck profile, so I'll show what they are and what to replace for them. But obviously, I would run 4 copies of Incandescent Lion Blonde Ezel, one of your main grade 3s of the deck. It has a Superior Ride skill from the hand if you have Knight of Supreme Skills Bowmanes and Knight of Elegant Skills Gareth on your Vanguard or Rear Guard. You can Soul Blast 1 Crimson Lion Cub, ride this card as stand, and if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 2 or less, this unit gets drive -1 until the end of the turn. So you're able to get your imaginary GIF Excel very, very early on, even if your opponent's at a grade 1, which is insane pressure for sure. The drive -1 doesn't really hurt you as much if you can just have that grade 3 on Vanguard, meaning you have the potential to call any kind of unit to the field, make full use of pressure next turn, since they'll ride obviously to grade 2, but come next turn after that, you'll be still on grade 3, either able to re-ride again or just have normal twin drive to go off of. And it has the ability, when it attacks, you may call a card from your hand to rear guard, meaning that's a great deal of pressure for your multiple attacks with the deck. And you can basically call over units that have already attacked, or even to an open Excel circle, depending on what you want to do. It doesn't say open rear guard, so you have the option to call your units with Ezel to whichever rear guard circle you need. Also, I would run 2 White Hair in the Moon's Shadow Pellinore. Now, this is the card I would take out for Blonde Ezel if you have all 4 of your Ezels to use. It's just a good backup. I like it for the potential from hand at the end of the battle that your rear guard's attack hits grade 3 or greater Vanguard. You can Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 3, ride this card as stand, and this unit gets drive -1 until the end of the turn. And at the end of the battle that your rear guard attacked a Vanguard, you can Counterblast 1 and return this the unit that attacked your hand. So it has bounce capabilities, which I remember a lot from the old bunny cards. That's what I called them, or the hair cards from Gold Paladin, that just revolved around, bouncing units, calling units, you name it. And Pellinore still has that ride on Vanguard ability. I think the old one was call to the Vanguard from rear guard, but from the hand, still get a real vibe of Pellinore overall with this unit still. But like I said, it's backup compared to Ezel, so would most likely take it out just for the fact that Ezel gives more pressure, but Pellinore is still a great substitute overall. And then for the backup grade 3 for the Gold Paladin deck, I run 4 Battlefield Storm Sagramor. It's a Vanguard or Rear Guard effect. When placed from hand, you Soul Blast 1, draw a card, and call a card from your hand to rear, which a lot of cards benefit from being called by a card effect, so you can make full use of this card. And also, Sagramor has an imaginary GIF Excel unit marker as well. So just like Pellinore, you'll have the option for your Excel circles with all of the grade 3s you run in the deck. It's an easy call effect and draw effect for consistency off of this card as well, and it can be on Vanguard or rear. So if you're already happy with what you have, let's say on your Vanguard circle, you can rely on this card still on rear guard. And that is it for the grade 3s. Moving on to the grade 2s, I would run 4 Player of the Holy Bow Vivian. Only have 2 sadly at the moment, so substituting in a Sacred Guardian Beast Nemean Lion for the time being. And with Player of the Holy Bow's effect, it's a Vanguard or Rear Guard effect. When placed from hand, you Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, look at 3 cards from the top of your deck, call a card from among them to rear, put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order, and this unit gets plus 3,000 until the end of the turn. So it's an easy call effect just for a Counterblast and a Soul Blast. Just make sure you don't obviously Soul Blast your Lion Cub because you may need it for your Blonde Ezel effect, but the call from among them is very good with the power effect as well, especially depending on what you call. You may get an added bonus, which we'll get to mostly when we get to the grade 1 units. And with Nemean Lion, when placed from hand, this unit gets plus 3,000 and plus 5 shield to the end of the turn. So just a good backup defense unit to use instead of suit for the Vivian card. And for the other grade 2s, I would run 4 of the Knight of Superior Skills Bowmains. Just have 2 of this one also, sadly. So substituting in a Knight of Heroism, Tornus for the time being. But Bowmains is a definite important card for getting off your Superior ride with Blonde Ezel, since you need this card and Gareth on the Vanguard or Rearguard. It has a Vanguard or Rearguard effect. When placed from hand, discard a card from your hand. Search your deck for up to 1 Knight of Elegant Skills Gareth, call to rear, and shuffle your deck. And when placed by your card's ability, this unit gets plus 3,000 to the end of the turn. So if you call it off one of your other cards, you have that bonus power, making it able to hit a lot more units than a normal 9k would. But also being able to call Gareth from your deck is also very helpful, since if you just open up Bowmains, you should have the Ezel play ready to go as long as you have Ezel in your hand as well. And Tornus is just, if your soul has 1 card, this unit gets plus 3,000. If your soul has 0 cards, it gets plus 8,000 instead of 3,000. So another good boost effect, but most of the time Bowmains is the more important card, I would say, overall for all the different plays you can do in the deck, especially since it is very important for the Ezel play. And lastly, for the grade 2s, I run 3 Lop Ear Shooter. At the end of the battle that your grade 2 or greater Vanguard attacked, you Counterblast 1, call this card to rear, and this unit gets plus 5,000 until the end of the turn. It's a very powerful effect just for the fact that you can call it to rear off the multiple attacks if you have open Excel circles, getting that plus power boost from its own ability and also from the Excel circle for plus 10,000. You can hit big numbers with Lop Ear Shooter, even being able to hit over force units, grade 3s with their 13k body, and still having them guard for big trigger numbers just to be sure that they can guard against this attack when this unit is on the Excel circle. And that is it for the grade 2s. We'll now move on to the grade 1s. I run 4 Knight of Elegant Skills Gareth. It's an important grade 1 for sure because of the fact that it relies on this card and Bowmains to superior call out your Blonde Ezel. It has an effect when placed by your card's ability. You can Counterblast 1, and this unit gets plus 10,000 until the end of the turn. So you really have power with this unit, and for just being a common, I think it's quite shocking compared to the other grade 1s, which are rares basically that we run. This one's very important for sure, just for power as well. Being able to boost for 18k power is very helpful, and the fact that you can even just attack on its own if need be for big numbers is very helpful in the deck as well. And I also run 4 Evil Slaying Swordsman Haugen, sorry if I mispronounced it. It's a Vanguard or Rearguard effect. When your Vanguard's attack hits, look at the top card of your deck, and you may call a card with a grade less than or equal to your Vanguard from among them to one of your Rearguards. If you called retire Evil Slaying Swordsman on your Rearguard. So it has a potential call effect on Vanguard or Rear, so you have that bonus when it's on Vanguard, since you won't have to retire this unit obviously, and being able to call a card with a grade less than or equal to your Vanguard is very helpful. Just looking at the top card of your deck, you want to make sure that consistency does go off, but like I said, the retire on Rearguard is kind of an added out bonus and equals out the call effect, since it doesn't really call or cost anything to use this card otherwise. No Counterblast and no Soul Blast. And I also run 4 Listener of Truth Dindrain. When placed by your card's ability, you Soul Blast 1 and draw a card, or you countercharge 1 and this unit gets plus 3,000 until the end of the turn. So you have options depending on what effect you want to use. The draw power can help, the countercharge can definitely help depending on what counterblast effects you use, like with, let's say, Gareth or Vivian. So being able to choose, I think, is very interesting for a Vanguard grade 1 for sure. All you have to do is place it with an ability, which you can do with plenty of units in this deck for sure. So definite needed staple in the deck. And lastly, for the grade 1s, I run 2 Waving Owl. This is just a good 9k backup. It doesn't have any shield, remember that, like a lot of the different Excel units, but the 9k ride can definitely be helpful just because it makes your opponent call cards to make sure that they can hit against this attack if you ride first, and just an overall good booster for your Vanguard, being able to hit for bigger numbers, or even just boosting. If this card boosts Gareth with its plus power, you can hit for 27k, which is very powerful on its own as well. Even on the Excel circle, 19k power is very good also. And for the grade 0s, for our starter, we run Crimson Lion Cub Kerf, I think is how you pronounce the name. Just the standard grade 0 for the Gold Paladin deck. When wrote upon, draw a card, so standard for all the decks. And for the trigger lineup, I decided to go with Rainbow. You can even try 8 front, 8 critical, depending on what playstyle you want to go for. But I think the well-rounded out balance can help, just because of with the critical triggers, you have pressure for extra damage for your opponent to not want to take the Vanguard attack, risking this if they're on 4 damage. But also with the front triggers, running Dante Gall just as a personal preference, you can have boosted up power for all your rear guards that haven't attacked yet. With all the big numbers we've already talked about, it's just added pressure since the whole front row will get the +10. And then for the draw trigger, the preferred one being Halo Shield Mark, since it is the perfect guard. Draw trigger would obviously run 2 more, just so you have this option filled in. Now, normally I wouldn't want to run draw triggers in Gold Paladins, but I love my grade 1 count, so I definitely wanted to run this perfect guard instead of the grade 1 in this version. And for the heal trigger for Elixir Samiel, this is just the heal trigger for standard format as well, so gotta run it for sure in the deck to finish off the trigger lineup. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Definitely excited that we got another deck down from the ultra rare set. So last one will be Angel Feathers. And I'm also probably thinking about making a budget version of a lot of different decks that have been released for standard format. So I might start off with Gold Paladin for the budget deck profiles, just to show you all cheaper versions of the decks that can be made, but still be very much playable when you go up against other people. But until then, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And until next time, Kira Qualia out.